good to have you here, Andreas. And thank you again for taking your time, especially now that it's so close before Christmas. I guess there's a lot going on, as with everyone. Yeah, so you are the general manager of the Radisson Blue in Andermatt.
Yes, ma'am. So it is.
Yes. So we are going to talk a lot about the ongoing situation due to the pandemic and the impacts of the hotel industry and in the ski resorts in particular. But I thought we can just start off with you telling about the hotel. I know a bit about it. I know that you opened it in 2018, it was, right?
Yes, just towards the end of 2018, on the 11th of December, we had our official opening party.
Yeah.
Then on the 20th, we've gone finally live with our system, so connected to the outside world and start to receive our first bookings.
Nice. And it's all planned, like it's one big plan that you have in Andermatt, right? And this hotel is a part of this plan, led by the investor Saviris, it's right?
Yes, so it is. We are part of the general development of the Andermatt Swiss Alps company, which they are mainly developing the land where our hotel is built, also with surrounding multifamily houses that serves as a real estate factor. But also, and I think what is quite unique in their way of tackling such a touristic project is they are massively developing the infrastructure around us.
Okay.
And currently, this has been done with a ski arena, with a golf court, with multiple hiking and biking opportunities, which they have come around us. We also then have an additional factor that we need to bring in this project, is that we are quite large for a hotel in the Alps, with currently around 240 rooms in operation.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And with a large meeting and events facility, which supported us very well over the 2019. We enjoyed a healthy demand onto such a, let me say, little bit remote conferencing location. But of course, such then stopped quite harsh and immediately with the first infection cases here in Switzerland in middle of March.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But definitely, as you said it right, we are not just a independent hotel. We are a property which is linked as well to the Radisson Hotel Group through the affiliation which we enjoy, and which for us, of course, is tremendously important in the group and in the MICE market. And then we are having our ownership, Andermatt Swiss Alps, which is more focusing onto the leisure clientele, also due to, as mentioned, the infrastructure which have been put around us. And they're giving us there also quite a good boost and bolstering to attack this market. Yeah. So we shall predominantly live with leisure clients over the classical holiday periods, which they are attractive here in the mountains, summer and winter, and in between have our MICE clientele to bolster off the touristical low seasons.
Okay. But if you look at, like, from the start in 2018, and then maybe not considering this year, but let's see, 2019, was it a good opening, would you say?
Yeah, look, when you review such processes, you always get stuck in the learnings which you have to take from them. And I believe there is no opening of a hotel until the present day which has not generated learnings. Our challenge was that we have been quite late in sales, because due to the rather tricky weather here in the mountain, construction was beneath not able to forecast a, let me say, opening date well in advance. And due to the fact then that we have not filled our pipeline beforehand, we were partially suffering, especially for the first 4 months after the opening. In this light, and also we have decided to rather opt for a volume than a rate strategy within 2019. As of course, as a young company, you need positioning, you need exposure, and this is what you realize by volume and not by rate. This strategy has paid out very well for the end of 2019, for the beginning of 2020. We were confident to reach a ambitious and positively closing budget. We have even exceeded those numbers in January and February 20, but then of course got a bit stroke. But look, as I mentioned, we're a hotel which is already kind of diversified, having a clear leisure group as well as also business group focus, and then the classical FIT individual business around it. So whatever we had to do was not reinventing ourselves, but learn to stand on one leg instead of two. So this one leg has grown quite musculous in the meantime. We have taken good learnings in terms of digital direct marketing, which of course before it was never our strength or core competence, because with our large inventory, we were rather focusing on a B2B market to give us a healthy base occupancy and then fill it up with individuals.
Yeah. So,
you know, looking back at 2019, I have to say it was a good year in terms of forming prospects for the future of this property. And in terms of 2020, I can proudly say that we managed to close the year GOP positive, which is most probably more than many of my fellow colleagues from city centers or rather urban areas can hope for. Nevertheless, of course, it's still away from the healthy profits that we have budgeted and that we wanted to contribute to our owners at the end of 2020.
Yeah,
so
but I mean, that's really something you can be proud of if it's not, the numbers are not that bad as you might expect it from this year, 2020, because as we all know, it was a dramatic year for the hotel industry.
Yes, it was so, and therefore, again, also looking into the other Radisson Blu properties, also looking into the other properties of our owning company. As you might know, they are also operating El Gouna in Egypt, in Oman, in Lustica in Montenegro. We are maybe one of those destinations which still had the healthiest developments. But don't forget, this is also due to our geographical and economical location. Switzerland is a very wealthy market, so quite a large amount of the population can afford to do hotel holidays in a upmarket scale in the own country. And in Egypt, you already have a much smaller number of your population, which forms then your local market.
Okay, so you could really see that mostly you had Swiss guests.
Yeah, we had a little bit, let me say, an international, not international, a European revival over the summer, when many travel restrictions have been falling again. Nevertheless, the whole year through, the market stayed fragile and insecure. And I do understand this reaction also from our clients, because everybody has seen how fast such quarantine regulation, travel restrictions can strike again. And everybody therefore have been, first of all, very careful in booking. Second of all, he have been booking short lead time.
Mm-hmm.
And third of all, he have been booking a shorter average stay, just to also minimize the risk from his side.
Yeah.
And we from the hotels, we have reacted basically canceling any kind of advance purchase offers, because in such a fragile environment, in a volatile environment, this makes little sense. Really reducing our cancellation periods, free cancellation periods to a minimum, as otherwise you won't be able to attract any kind of booking in advance.
I see. Yeah, that's one way of how you have to react, I guess, in a time like this. But what else did you have to change or adapt if you look at the impact of the COVID-19 when it comes to you in the position of a general manager?
Look, a hotel industry always have been a lively and fast changing business. I do then have the additional advantage that I spent most of my career in the food and beverage section of the hotellery, where every day you need to reshape your products. Every day there is items on the beverage list, processes within your organization that you have to review and to change. And therefore, we have not been surprised to come to a world where short lead and flexibility and agility is key. There is maybe some state offices which they have been shocked further from this new behaviors. What has put us, of course, into certain mental troubles is the rather fast changing pace of regulations which we experience now towards autumn and early winter.
Yeah.
In spring, when we had the lockdown and then the reopening and then a gradual easing of the regulations was always rather predictable. I mean, you didn't know exactly which kind of measures will be eased, but you could see a general direction where it's heading to, and you could adopt your expense levels in terms of costings, in terms of stuffings towards the situation. And now, since let me say beginning of November, the situation has really become a week-to-week case. And here in Switzerland now, the government has implemented trigger values, which they then initiate or stipulate certain measures. But even look at us as hotel people. We are not the right ones to predict when a reproduction value will be below 1, or when a hospital intensive care capacity comes to its edge. So it's not a kind of a data fundus that we really can get a reliable intel of. And this makes it very difficult for us to schedule ahead. And with scheduling ahead, I don't mean the volatile booking market, which you can lose 140K of definite bookings over one weekend, as we have experienced now over the last 2 days. But I'm talking about our own organizational degree, what the guest is expecting when he enters our property. He needs a functional infrastructure, not being overstuffed. So there is personnel chittering on every corner because we do have Corona and want to give distances and so on, but also not an understuffed operation where then he have to cry for attention of our associates. And as we all experience in Central Europe, payroll is our, let me say, most counting cost aspect. And to dare then safely plan ahead in order not to affect our clients, but also not becoming too flexible in the demand towards our labor, this is really challenging.
Okay. Yeah, I can
And of
imagine.
course, here in Switzerland, we do have a quite well organized and well funded government, which is somehow helping us to
Mm,
bridge some of these challenges. But already talking to my colleagues in Italy, or then further down in the sub-Saharan Africa, gives you completely different range of challenges.
of course, yeah. So looking at the winter season, it's still very unclear. Also here in Switzerland, I mean, the Swiss government, they haven't really decided further. And as you mentioned, it's quite new now for you and Andermatt that they are closing the ski slopes.
Yes.
Is this, is this something
So
that you,
currently we have received the limitation from tomorrow, 22nd on, as a
yeah,
last day to be open,
okay,
and first possible reopening on the 30th of December.
okay.
And of course, if this
So,
situation happens, we will not even have a blue eye. We will just have a scratch in our finger,
yeah, okay.
considering then the upcoming 21 and the targets we think to fulfill in this year.
Mhm.
Um, but as mentioned, these two values, which they are mainly deciding on as fast as we can open, this reproduction value, as well as also the amount of free spaces in intensive care, are for me beneath not forecastable, and therefore I don't want to give any promise or opinion about the subject. We will
No.
just have to watch the situation, monitor it further, keep our contact into the governmental instances, as well as also into the medical instances open, and then decide very, very short term as to how we're going to react. What we definitely already have brought on the way is kind of alternative programs and activities um, to still attract tourism, although there is no skiing. Fortunately, we have quite a wide valley and landscape around us. So winter hiking, fat biking, Nordic skiing, e-quad rental, etc., are options that we have already put in place or will do over the next 2 or 3 days.
Okay. Yeah, so you have to really react quite fast, depending on the decisions. It must be really tricky, I imagine it.
Yes, it is tricky, but again, it's also an accelerator for creativity. It's
Mhm.
an accelerator for digital processes within our industry. And this is what I would now, looking back, see as the positive changes or adaptations that we could have implemented, and that will stay in one or the other side of the operation for a longer time.
Yeah, that's true. How the whole technology has moved forward this year, it's insane, especially in the hotel industry, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I always see the hotel industry as the complete technological backlash. Although I just
Actually, yeah.
mentioned it before, our manual processes are, due to the labor cost, tremendously expensive.
Mm,
We are still a too much fragmented industry to, first of all, have on our own side good amounts for investment into digitalization. And of course, it makes us rather unattractive for companies which they offer kind of digital facilitation, because you do have to sell then your hospitality product to rather quite many different companies for a rather overseeable revenue. Whilst, for example, if you talk about pharmaceutical industry, you have 4 or 5 world leaders that you can approach, and your product is serving 80% of the market.
That's true.
But as mentioned, fortunately, we are not just a hotel, as we rightly said before. We do have with Andermatt Swiss Alps a strong and diversified owning company, which already helped us with such tools, like for example virtual queuing. And we do have with the Radisson Hotel Group a very strong chain player, which is also aware of the mentioned problematics and is currently also investing major amounts into facilitating one-touch or completely touchless check-ins, into guidance of the crowd and so on, which of course for the future it will pay out.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And just generally speaking of hotels being located in ski resorts, would you say there are some high risk profiles looking maybe particular in Switzerland, where you would say that this is not going to end well after this year of the pandemic?
Yeah, look, as mentioned, our industry is quite fragmented. We are not, or no, 80% of the Swiss hospitality are hotels, which they are family owned or just personal owned, and also personal operated, which they have around 30 to 40 rooms, and which over the last years, by having more and more international outbound travel and having not enough volume coming in for such small properties, investment has been difficult.
Yeah.
And it's an open secret that many of my colleagues have been living from day to day already before Corona came. And of course, for such properties, this is a tremendous risk. I mean, look, we have now received liquidity aids from the government. Also, we as a larger hotel were in need of this liquidity aids because during the complete lockdown, our revenue has tended towards zero. Yes, we could lay off our staff into this Kurzarbeit, it's called here in Switzerland, into a kind of partial labor where the government is taking over around 80% of the salary component, but nevertheless 20% of the salary component sticks with me. And what you also shouldn't underestimate, especially for larger properties, the amount of fixed cost which you have already for fire inspection, maintenance contracts, is then vastly exceeding this declining revenues. So yes, this was a big help even for us. But whilst now, also due to our, let me say, unique integrated value chain that we can operate here in Andermatt, whilst we as a group see again perspectives coming up, many small hotels will have it more difficult then to reposition in this market that, yes, it has changed over the Corona pandemic. I mean, as I mentioned, booking lead time has again decreased. Our world becomes more spontaneous, and also clients will take this as a teaching not to book too long ahead anymore, as it might not only be an advantage but also be a risk for them.
Yeah.
And all organizations which they have a, let me say, well positioned reservation system, which they have a positioned brand in the market landscape, which they do have a little bit fat on their ribs, that technological changes or maybe even conceptual changes can be fit in. They will be the ones then to profit from the newly raising tourism.
Yeah, I see. So if you would take an outlook for the year to come, 2021, what are we expecting exactly?
My crystal ball is missing. Look, honestly, after everything what happened now, I wouldn't mention my prophecies too loud. On one side, we do have a very strong second and third wave. On the other side, we do have the vaccines slowly coming in and taking off. Also there, all experts mentioning that due to vaccination, measures cannot be lifted until summer. So what I would assume is that we will still have a very volatile situation until June. In June, also due to the fact that people will live more outside and less into closed areas again, as we have seen in the last spring, the situation will calm down again. There will hopefully be already the chance to have some eases of the current measurements, maybe even some borders to be freed again of bans. We hope at least that within the European Union, it will already be possible to travel again. And then let me say towards Q3, a very careful and soft comeback of the group markets. So maybe, first smaller group and not overseas, but just purely continental with 20, 40 participants in meeting or traveler in leisure scale. And then just hopefully that this will go ahead, that the crisis really will come towards a safe end, at least in European scale in the end of 2021. And internationally, we will still unfortunately see markets which they might not have the financial power to get out the vaccination as fast as we do here. And they might still continue to suffer. Most of the intel which I have seen now, they say that group business will recover to a level of around 80% of pre-crisis within 2023. So there is still a longer way to go to pre-crisis revenue levels.
I see. Yeah, we'll see how it's ending and how the new year is going to begin. Let's hope that the winter season is going to happen anyway, even if it's so uncertain right now.
Yeah, look, there is a lot of different scenarios which they can come. Currently, we do have the situation, as mentioned, Switzerland is quite a federalistic country, that we will hold the ski operation on Tuesday evening, just around 50 kilometers from here. There is another district which they are still operating.
That's so strange.
Which of course is a little bit a competitive disadvantage to me. Yes. If this continues, I'm rather skeptic onto how it will develop here in Andermatt. On the other side, there is also chances. For example, if a lockdown of the restaurant, shops, etc., in the urban area continues, many people might think that an alpine hotel, as we are, is the last seat of at least a certain normality. Yes, also we do have a strong protection concept. Of course, we have to also not only protect our guests, but also to protect our business. But at least you can dine in my restaurant until 11, in New Year even until 1 o'clock. At least you can visit the pool, you can visit the spa, you can do some hikes outside. And if the weather is nice, I mean, it's lovely to have a hike out here in the mountain. It will really bring your thoughts on a different level. Then we have the situation that maybe the whole home office might continue for a longer time. Many people are now, after 10 months of more or less continuous home office, so flexible that they don't need any additional hardware from their company offices anymore. So that maybe this also will become a attractive sales stream again. that people will book longer stay periods with us, and then work from here from Andermatt
From the
for
pool,
2 weeks,
they
for
can have
1 month.
the computer where the pool is and just have the home office there. That's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, look, currently, as mentioned, as all the shops, the sports centers, the cinemas, the restaurants are closed in the cities, I mean, you basically lost all the advantages of urban living. So why not then enjoying the advantages of rural living, at least for a certain period of time?
That's true.
So as you see, we're seeing quite a lot of chances among all these challenges and risks which they're coming ahead us. As always in business, the creative, the agile, and the flexible one will get the biggest piece out of the cake, which is existing. And as always, larger organizations are better off to be creative and innovative, and then also bring this towards the client with a dedicated investment in smaller companies. And therefore, I'm not pessimistic looking in the future. I'm hesitated because I cannot yet predict how big the overall cake, the overall market for us will be. But due to the aforementioned affiliations that we are having, I believe, yes, if we don't do it stupidly, we will able to sharpen our profile. And hopefully at the end of the crisis, maybe even be known as one of this rather agile and rather active and rather technology versatile providers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you are sitting in a good organization. It seems like you have everything under control. That's good.
We're not having everything under control. Sorry to disappoint, but yes, you know, I have, as mentioned, through the Radisson Hotel Group, access to a very advanced regional office, which is able to supply me with a lot of market intel, especially when it comes to the corporate market. And I'm having a lot of sister properties like Trysil in Norway, or our beautiful resorts in Malta and in the Maldives, where I always can get a little bit their experiences and their learnings and their market outlooks in order to balance our own estimations. And this is a important point to know, that which kind of activities are demanded in the market. So what is the message that I go to the market with? It is important to know, when do I release this message, so that I'm catching the optimal point when the client is looking for offers again, but before everybody else is pushing in the market and is making Google AdWords and whatever kind of strategy and campaigning I'm doing more expensive. Voila. And of course, it needs this message and this campaigning needs to be ready when the client is thinking, hey, wow, the pandemic is fading out. Where shall we do our next holiday?
Yeah. And especially in ski resorts, I think you have to think even more in a flexible way, because it's very seasonal, right? So the high season is mostly in winter. But as I've been looking at what you're building in Andermatt, also with the golf course and program for the whole year, it seems like you're really trying to go more on the path where you have a whole year program. And I think that's
this is I believe, you know, this is something which every mountain location should look at.
Yeah.
Before Corona came, our biggest headache was the climate. I'm quite sure this issue will come on our desks again once Corona has passed. Additionally, I believe that this fully seasonal model will lose attractivity in a more and more flexibilized and personalized travel market. Don't forget that classical office hours start to deteriorate with everybody doing some private purchases from the office, but still checking his emails from the couch at home. Through the demand-oriented pricing of airlines and hotellery and all players in tourism, a-seasonal holiday making is incentivized by our sector.
Yeah.
The classical family and life model is shaking and will not come back as we had it in the 1940s. The traditional family with mommy, daddy, and 2 kids is not existing, or is not the ideal of the majority of our population anymore. And all this shows you that, summer holiday, winter holiday, wow, it's my main season, it will deteriorate. And we have to come up with offers that is, how can I say, reacting onto this very, very spontaneous and flexible market. But as mentioned, in the same time, it also gives us vast opportunities, as mentioned, for example, to fill our inventory over a much longer time in the year that we could do before with a very fixed seasonality.
Yeah, it's a lot is changing, not only because of Corona, as you mentioned, it's in the mentality. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and also if you look at the pace of the change, I mean, it's always tricky to say from an own perspective, because I believe I was, or my generation was estranged to my dad's generation, like now my daughter's generation is to me. But if you look as how the world has changed between the 60s and the 90s, and how many sociological changes we already have experienced since the smartphone became a mascot in 2010. Oof, I don't want to imagine the future anymore.
Yeah, it's it's strange. But just as the last question now, maybe, when we are talking about the future again, when you would imagine a hotel in 10 years, how would you say, how would it look like, a typical hotel?
In which area? Is it a beach or a mountain or a city center or an airport?
To the ski resorts.
To ski resorts, okay. So, as mentioned, in 10 years from now, a ski resort will not be a ski resort anymore. It will be an alpine resort. Skiing will definitely still be one of the main aspects, and the ski season will still be one of the main revenue drivers. But it will have diversified much more into low season and mid-season business. Also, the offerings will have changed. The classical, we do offer hiking trips, but then you have to pre-reserve 3 days in advance, will not be existing anymore. It will be a hopefully then digitally connected and marketed bunch of activities which they are more or less bookable ad hoc. The kind of activities also will change. It will become more individual. It will become a more, let me say, target group oriented specialization of your destination onto what kind of activities you're either offering. I mean, look, this is something where Switzerland is still a little bit behind Austria. In Austria, destinations do have a clear positioning since meanwhile 10 years. Whilst in Switzerland, alpine destination, still they try to be a little bit everything, you know, yeah, we're taking families, we're having something for families, yeah, retired people are also welcome, oh, you're a millennial, please, you also can book with us. And I think there will be an ongoing sharpening of those profiles, that never you will focus on just one very particular target group, because also the crisis has taught us that you should distribute your business over several more or less independent or even hedging revenue streams. But this time where the guest was just the guest for us has ended. Yeah. And whilst our guests become more particular in their need profiles, also we will start to have to look at which kind of guest segments or groups are more or less compatible to each other, and in which seasonality we can play towards them with which voluminous. So maybe you will say, okay, look, basically in the holiday time, in the school holiday time, I'm a family destination, but pre and off season, we do also attract millennials.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we have to have this chat in 10 years again, and then we can see if it all turned out as you expected it.
You know, a very interesting fact. Together with Andermatt Swiss Alps, our owning company, we have doing a so-called Picture of the Future workshop recently, where us from the hotel side, the general management, the real estate, the construction people, the digital innovation people, and everybody came together to envision how do our resort needs to look at in 2040, so in 20 years of time. Yeah. Which kind of technology could become relevant, which kind of guest needs could become relevant, and how they should be covered then at the end. And looking at the picture which we have drawn then, and looking what people maybe in 1920 have done to envision what will be in 1940 and 1950, you will see that there is some hooks which somehow humanity always tends to clinch on. Like, for example, the individual air transportation. You know, if you look at the posters of the Paris World Exhibition to come in 20 years, you will also there find the flying taxis. And of course, now we're still in the same place, and we say, wow, mobility is in a tremendous shift, also due to the climate and environmental aspect. And yes, yeah, this kind of chopper thing, a drone thing, it will be one of the big trends. Yeah. So, you know, I would not like to see what we have drawn today and will be still actual in 20 years. I would love to see what then people in 20 years say will be in 20 years.
Yeah, that's the real future. Okay, I think that was a good end for this interview. Thank you so much, Andreas, again for your time.
Pleasure.
And I hope that your ski slopes are going to open very soon again. Let's hope so. And otherwise,
we have the fingers crossed, yeah, definitely.
Wish you Merry Christmas. It's very soon Christmas. I hope
Thank you. Same to you. Yeah. Have a good feast. If you're looking for some snow with or without skiing, yes, you know where Andermatt is located. Give me a shout. We are here. We will not run away.
Perfect. That sounds great. Okay.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you.